Support for Cinema Classics comes from Film Columbus, enriching our community to make Columbus a destination for film education, exhibition, and production. Learn more at filmcolumbus.com. Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. Listen to shows every Thursday at 8:01 p.m. and full shows online at WCBE.org. I'm John DeSando.
I'm Johnny DiLoretto.
Yeah, and this is Cinema Classics.
This is Cinema Classics.
Yeah, it is.
Why?
So,
we're talking about Batman.
We are talking about Batman because we had a whole show on vigilantes.
Okay.
And it kind of anchored it as we argued about whether something was vigilante or revenge.
As per usual, you start slipping other examples into a very tight little, concept, and then before you know it, it devolves.
Because this is Cinema Classics,
Mm-hmm.
we have decided now and then to talk about classics. I mean, imagine that.
Okay.
And so I thought the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
And I'm not Tim Burton's, which I thought...
He doesn't even have a trilogy.
No, he doesn't, but not even his take on Batman.
No.
I think
mean, it was...
Christopher Nolan is...
That was more visually fun.
Yes, yeah. But I think Christopher Nolan is the apotheosis.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right.
I mean, the whole, how there's this Marvel universe versus the DC universe thing. Had Christopher Nolan really resurrected that Batman franchise in a very unique, interesting, dramatically dynamic way, right? And then once he wrapped up that trilogy, he kind of stepped aside, and DC was like, "Oh, hey, we have this great groundwork to answer Marvel's universe." But then Christopher Nolan just left, and then they hired Zack Snyder, the exact opposite of Christopher Nolan.
Right.
And then they've been spinning their wheels ever since. Yeah, that trilogy is a great.
Well, so tell me, I'm more familiar with the Dark Knight twosome. Is the Joker also in Batman Begins? Is that where he comes out?
No. The Batman Begins is a really great reintroduction to the character. No, the main villain in Batman Begins is Scarecrow.
Okay.
And he unleashes a fear gas over the city.
Oh, okay, all right. Is that, okay, I forgot. Because, gee, I wonder why Joker has been so prominent. We've often talked about how the villains kind of set some of the tone of any good film. And Jack Nicholson even did. In fact, he just took over.
Yeah, he just ate that whole movie.
Right, he did, which was probably where it went wrong in some respects.
Of course, yes, absolutely.
It's Batman.
It just keeps spinning off into these Joker scenes that don't have anything to do with it.
I know, all right. So Heath Ledger as Joker in The Dark Knight. Now there you have two powerhouses, Christian Bale,
right,
Heath Ledger.
And those two themes really, Christopher Nolan, really nicely weaves the theme of the Joker's anarchy into Batman's attempts to always impose order on this chaotic world, and it's just really beautifully done. One has rules, the other doesn't have any rules. One is, one takes the representation of something fun, like a clown, and turns it into something bad. The other takes the representation of something scary, like a bat, and turns it into something good. There's all these inversion themes going on.
Yeah. And therefore some very heavy-duty psychological and physical properties in those two films. Now, what do you think about Christian Bale as Batman? I mean, I think that's crucial.
I really liked him as Batman.
Because when you think about Ben Affleck, you think about even, who's the Beetlejuice guy?
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah. Michael Keaton would have been a good Batman if in better movies. But also, I just think he's physically wrong.
Yes, this is correct.
I mean, he's just wrong.
Yeah.
They finally started casting people who were legitimately physically imposing.
How about, who was it? Oh, Lord.
Go ahead. What?
I was thinking of the other one physically wrong for Batman.
George Clooney.
George Clooney.
George Clooney was wrong.
What are you thinking?
Val Kilmer was okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
There's currently some debate as to whether Ben Affleck will continue or not in this role. Who would you dreamcast as Batman?
I have no idea.
Oh, come on.
I don't. I really
Come on.
don't.
Well, this is no fun.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Okay. That's interesting.
May not physically have.
Tom Hardy? You don't think he's... I think he's physically.
Well, I always think of Batman should be taller. I'm not sure that he is. But he certainly got the Christian Bale idea that you can't understand what he says.
What about Ryan Gosling?
Just not.
But wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, but not meaty enough. Again, I think physically.
He said that he would do it if Damien Chazelle directed the movie.
All right, okay.
That would be interesting.
Yeah,
they should make a musical. Batman musical.
All right, and so then
you know what I would call it? Batmanalo, and it would be all Barry Manilow songs.
Listen, I just saw.
Yeah.
Mandy.
With Nick Cage.
Nick Cage.
Yeah.
And they never played the song.
Oh, Mandy. I wouldn't expect
that. I know, wouldn't that be right?
That would be great.
That's another vigilante. It's not a vigilante. It's a revenge.
Okay, cool.
It's a pure revenge.
Is it really good? Is it as good as everybody says? Because if I walk into that movie and it's not as good as everybody says, I am going to unleash some revenge.
I'm going to tell you, it's Nick Cage over the top.
Can't wait.
Now,
see, this is what I'm talking about. We're talking about Batman. You're talking about Nicolas Cage.
It is the whole idea of the revenge, but which we had mixed in with Batman.
Yeah, okay.
A little bit because of his parents.
All right, yeah.
But mostly it's vigilante.
Yeah,
but this
is a vigilante.
The Nick Cage's Mandy is not. It's strictly revenge.
I mean, Batman, you understand, has this rule that he won't kill anybody. Do you know that?
Okay.
He doesn't use guns.
Okay.
And he will not kill. So those are his rules. Even though he approaches, justice from a vigilante perspective, he has some moral guidelines.
Okay.
That's what makes him special. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
I'm not, but...
well, you are now.
I'm also interested in your take on... Do you remember in Dark Knight, the Catwoman? Was it Anne Hathaway?
Mm-hmm.
Was that, what kind of a part of... so
I'm
unusual.
I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
So, in the Batman universe, there are... And in other comic book worlds, there are villains, hardcore villains, right? Then they're your heroes. Then in the middle you have people who kind of like straddle the fence. Catwoman's one of those characters who isn't. She's a criminal, but she also helps Batman sometimes. Sometimes they team up. Blah blah blah. There's like a romantic tension there, sexual tension. Mm-hmm. So she's not a villain. In that movie, she.
It was the Rises, Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises, part 3.
Yeah. So you see her as not an integral part, but as
I think you see her as a connective tissue between villainy and heroism.
Great. Gary Oldman.
Yeah, fine, great.
As the commissioner.
He's a good commissioner.
Yeah, one of those enduring roles. He doesn't overtake the film at all.
No.
But he's just...
But there's this gravitas with that character.
Yes, there is, exactly. And Aaron Eckhart, of course.
Yeah, he was good.
Yes, yeah. And then Maggie Gyllenhaal as another female. Was she?
So she takes over for... In Batman Begins, that character was played by Katie Holmes. And I think a lot of people just felt that she was a weak link in that movie.
Yes.
And so they recast that part.
So overall then, as we look at, we've selected the trilogy by Christopher Nolan. He's just a superior director, always intellectual, always puzzling, always challenging. So how would you then kind of summarize and or characterize that trilogy as opposed to all the other Batmans?
Oh, it's grounded in reality. He takes that character and he makes it feel more real than it's ever felt. Like he makes that city, the texture of this, even more so going from Batman Begins seems like a little, still has that otherworldly feel, but you can start to see it. And then in The Dark Knight, it's like you get the sense that Batman could exist, like in a way that I don't think you ever could. Not in the Tim Burton movies, which, the design looked, gothic and otherworldly, and even obviously the Batman from the 60s seemed colorful and fake, This, I think, that was his coup. That Christopher Nolan took a character out of our imaginations and planted it firmly in the ground of reality.
And you know, you remind me then that, first of all, one of the things that's real about him is that he's troubled.
Mm-hmm.
He's a brilliant person who has deep troubles, psychological troubles. And that unlike the Marvel Universe, there's no real humor here. There is some.
Yeah.
But none of the superficial toss-off quips.
Yeah. Every once in a while, like that, wasn't jokey, but there's that line in the Dark Knight, when some vigilantes dress up as Batman because they're taking a cue from him, and of course they get their asses handed to them, and the one guy says, why, what's the difference between me and you? And he says, I'm not wearing hockey pants. There's a couple of jokes in there. I'm not wearing hockey pants.
You are such a nerd. How do you remember that stuff?
How do you not?
Oh, God.
Come on, how do you not remember it?